Real quick, before we start, this video is not a diagnostic tool. I am not a therapist. I am a person on the internet with a microphone and strong opinions about psychology. If something in this video sounds uncomfortably familiar, please talk to an actual professional. They went to school for this. I did not. Okay, now that the disclaimer is out of the way, hey, welcome to Why Am I Like This kiosk, the channel where we figure out, together, why we are like this. Today specifically, we're talking about mental disorders, the common ones, the ones that millions of people live with every day, the ones that get thrown in conversation constantly, but are almost never actually explained properly. Because here's the thing, mental health gets talked about a lot, but mostly in one of two ways. Either it's so clinical it feels like reading a medical textbook at gunpoint, or it's so watered down it's basically meaningless. I'm so OCD about my desk. I'm literally bipolar today. No, let's actually understand what these things are, what they feel like from the inside, and why they're so much more than the words we casually toss around. 7 disorders, plain language, no judgment. Let's go. Number 1, generalized anxiety disorder. Let's start with the one most people think they understand, and mostly don't. Everyone gets anxious. Presentation at work? Anxious. First date? Anxious. Accidentally sent a text to the wrong person? Full system shutdown. But generalized anxiety disorder is not that. GAD is anxiety that doesn't need a reason. It's not attached to a specific event or situation. It's a constant background hum of dread that follows you everywhere. About everything. All the time. People with GAD don't just worry about the presentation. They worry about the presentation and whether they locked the door, and if that thing they said 3 years ago offended someone, and whether their body feels slightly off, which probably means something is wrong, and if they're being a good enough friend, simultaneously, on a Tuesday, for no specific reason. The clinical threshold is worry that's difficult to control, happening more days than not, for at least 6 months, affecting your ability to function. It often comes with physical symptoms too: tension, fatigue, trouble sleeping, the feeling that your body is permanently braced for impact. It's exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't have it, because from the outside, nothing looks wrong. From the inside, everything feels like it might be. Number 2, depression. This might be the most misunderstood word in mental health, and that misunderstanding does real damage. Depression is not sadness. I want to say that clearly. Sadness is an emotion. It comes, it makes sense, it passes. Depression is a disorder. It doesn't always make sense, it doesn't always feel like sadness, and it doesn't just pass on its own. Major depressive disorder can look like persistent low mood, yes, but also numbness, emptiness, the absence of feeling rather than the presence of pain. It can look like losing interest in things you used to love, not disliking them, just feeling nothing about them, which is somehow worse. It can look like exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, difficulty concentrating, moving through the day like everything is happening slightly underwater. It can even look like irritability, snapping at people, feeling frustrated at nothing, which is one of the reasons it often goes unrecognized, especially in men. The clinical picture requires symptoms most of the day, nearly every day, for at least 2 weeks, and it has to significantly disrupt how you function. This isn't a bad week. This isn't, I need to go outside more. This is a real physiological condition that affects brain chemistry, and it responds to treatment. If this sounds familiar, not as a mood, but as a way of existing, please talk to someone. You're not being dramatic, and you don't have to earn the right to get help by suffering enough first. Number 3, OCD. Okay, this one gets butchered the most. I reorganize my bookshelf. I'm so OCD. No, you're neat. Those are different things. OCD is not a preference for tidiness. It is a disorder built on 2 things: obsessions and compulsions, and the relationship between them is what makes it so relentless. Obsessions are unwanted, intrusive thoughts that feel stuck. Not just worries, but thoughts your brain grabs and won't let go of, that feel urgent and threatening, even when you know logically they're not. Common obsessions include fears of contamination, fears of harming someone by accident, fears of saying something blasphemous, fears that something terrible will happen if you don't do something specific. Compulsions are the behaviors that follow. Rituals performed to neutralize the anxiety the obsession creates. Washing hands, checking the lock, counting, repeating phrases silently, arranging objects until they feel right. Here's the cruel part. The compulsion works, but only for a moment. Then the obsession comes back, louder, and the cycle starts again. People with OCD can spend hours every day trapped in this loop, not because they want to, but because the anxiety of not doing the compulsion feels completely unbearable. That's not quirky. That's not a personality trait. That's a disorder, and it deserves to be treated like one. Number 4, ADHD. ADHD gets a lot of airtime lately, which is mostly good, but has also led to a lot of confusion about what it actually is. It is not just being easily distracted. It is not just being energetic as a kid. And it is absolutely not something you grow out of. About 60% of children with ADHD continue to have it as adults. It just looks different. ADHD is fundamentally a disorder of self-regulation. The brain's executive function, the part that manages attention, impulse control, planning, and time, works differently. Not worse across the board, differently. People with ADHD often struggle to start tasks that feel boring, even when they know they need to do them. They can hyper-focus for hours on something that interests them, and be completely unable to spend 10 minutes on something that doesn't. Time feels abstract. Deadlines feel unreal until they're immediate. There's also something called rejection-sensitive dysphoria, an extreme emotional response to perceived criticism or failure that a lot of people with ADHD experience, but nobody talks about enough. It's not being oversensitive, it's the nervous system responding to social pain the way most people respond to physical pain. ADHD is also significantly underdiagnosed in women and girls because the hyperactive presentation is less common, and the inattentive presentation gets written off as daydreaming or being ditzy or just not trying hard enough. Funny how that works. Number 5, bipolar disorder. Few mental health conditions carry more stigma and more misunderstanding than this one. So let's be precise. Bipolar disorder is not mood swings. Everyone has mood swings. Bipolar disorder is a condition involving distinct episodes, periods of time, lasting days to months, where a person's mood, energy, and functioning shift dramatically from their baseline. Depressive episodes look like what we described earlier: low energy, loss of interest, difficulty functioning. Manic episodes look very different: elevated or irritable mood, dramatically decreased need for sleep, not insomnia, but genuinely feeling rested after 2 hours, racing thoughts, impulsivity, grandiosity, a feeling of being invincible or uniquely gifted, which can feel amazing, until it leads to decisions that cause real damage. Here's what people miss. The manic episode often doesn't feel like a problem to the person experiencing it. It feels like finally being okay, finally having energy and confidence and ideas, which is part of why bipolar disorder is hard to treat, because asking someone to give up the high means asking them to trust that the crash is coming, even when they can't feel it yet. It is a serious condition that responds well to treatment. It is not a personality, it is not an excuse, and it is not something someone can just stabilize through willpower. Number 6, social anxiety disorder. Raise your hand if you've ever replayed a conversation in your head for 3 days after it happened. Yeah, that's what I thought. For most people, that fades. It's embarrassing for a bit, and then life moves on. For people with social anxiety disorder, it doesn't fade. It lives there, rent-free, loudly. Social anxiety disorder is not shyness. It's an intense, persistent fear of social situations, specifically the fear of being watched, judged, embarrassed, or humiliated. It's not just, I don't love parties. It's physical symptoms: racing heart, sweating, shaking, nausea, triggered by the anticipation of social interaction, sometimes before the interaction even happens. People with social anxiety often know their fear is disproportionate. That's part of what makes it so frustrating. You can tell yourself logically that nobody is scrutinizing your every word, and your body still behaves like they absolutely are. It leads to avoidance, turning down opportunities, not speaking up, performing a version of yourself that feels safe instead of real, and then feeling lonely because nobody actually knows you, because you never let them. It's a loop, and it's more common than most people realize. Number 7, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Last one, and possibly the most important one to get right. PTSD is not just something that happens to soldiers. That narrative, while not wrong, has done real harm because it's led millions of people to dismiss their own experiences as not qualifying, not bad enough, not traumatic enough. PTSD can develop after any experience that overwhelms a person's ability to cope: accidents, abuse, loss, medical trauma, childhood experiences, witnessing something devastating. The threshold is not the event itself, it's the impact on the nervous system. What PTSD actually looks like: flashbacks, not just memories, but intrusive re-experiencing of the event, as if it's happening now, not then. Hypervigilance, a nervous system permanently stuck in threat detection mode, scanning every room, every interaction, every shift in tone for danger. Avoidance of people, places, thoughts, anything that connects to the trauma. And negative shifts in mood and thinking. Persistent shame, guilt, the belief that the world is fundamentally unsafe or that you yourself are fundamentally broken. Living with PTSD is exhausting in a way that's almost impossible to explain, because the event is over, but the body doesn't know that. The body is still there, still responding, still trying to protect you from something that already happened. Treatment exists. It works. EMDR, trauma-focused therapy, somatic approaches. There are real, evidence-based options, and you don't have to have been to war to deserve access to them. Okay, 7 disorders. Plain language. No watering down, no dramatizing. Here's what I want you to take from this. Mental disorders are not character flaws. They are not weakness. They are not moods that need managing or phases that need waiting out. They are real, documented, neurological and psychological conditions that respond to real treatment. And understanding them, even a little, matters. It matters for the people living with them. It matters for how we talk about them. It matters for whether the people in our lives feel safe enough to say, "I'm struggling," without waiting for it to get bad enough to justify the words. If something in this video felt less like information and more like a description of your life, please reach out to a professional. Not because something is wrong with you, because something is going on and you deserve actual support, not just a YouTube video about it. No offense. Drop a comment if this helped, or if you want me to go deeper on any of these individually, because every single one could be its own video. And if you've been living with one of these and want to share what it actually feels like, I'd genuinely love to hear it. The comment section is a judgment-free zone. I will enforce this personally. Subscribe if you want more of this. Share it with someone who needs the language for something they've been feeling. And I'll see you in the next one.